Ooh, damn. Ooh. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what people think about this one. Wicked for Good, of course, adapts the second act of the musical, picking up sometime after the end of the first, and it also covers Dorothy's arrival in Oz and gives us a different perspective of what was going on around that time. Wicked for Good is also, of course, coming out a year after the phenomenon that was the first film. The first film, of course, being successful financially, critically, awards-ly. So yeah, I'd say this one had a lot of pressure on it to deliver after all that the first one achieved, and if you couldn't tell from the opening, I was pretty disappointed. I'm just going to start first with the positives of the film because sadly, I think those will be quicker to get through. The lead performances, once again, from Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, they're excellent here. Of course, there wasn't really ever any doubt, and there's a lot of great emotional moments between them. I mean, they carry, for sure, without a doubt. It's all on them, and they are a big part of what makes this movie passable. The supporting performances here, once again, are also really good. I say Jeff Goldblum probably has the most to do out of all the supporting performances because this one, even more than the last film, at least from my perspective, seemed to be even more focused on Glinda and Elphaba, as it should be, but I just thought I'd point that out. The makeup, the costumes, the set design, once again, all looked great. I also think the colors were a little bit more vibrant because I feel like maybe they were responding to the backlash that some things looked kind of dull. I think they fixed that a little bit here. And now we can talk about my issues with the film. But before we get to that, I'm not familiar with the musical. But as far as I understand it, most people like the first act more than the second act. And I could understand why, because after watching this, it's clearly the weaker of the two. Although I did hear people who enjoy the musical do say the film for Wicked for Good handles that second act better than the musical did, but it's still so obviously weaker than the first. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling. Usually I kind of write out my thoughts more and like kind of make like a script, a rough script, but I'm just kind of ranting here, so yeah, just bear with me. Now, I don't know if the issues I have are gonna be the same issues that people have with the second act of the musical, but the biggest one for me is how rushed it felt. Like, it felt legitimately like they just had a checklist of things. They were like, okay, well, we got to hit this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then they just started hitting them, and it was like, okay, do this, rush through this. Okay, kind of tie it in, and then the next thing, it just felt like little segments almost, and then they were just rushing through the segments, and most of them weren't really tied together well. Like, there's a scene, Elphaba goes and sees her sister, and then, you know, things happen, and then more things happen, and then things escalate. Okay, and then a few minutes later, somebody sees someone else. I'm trying to avoid spoilers here. I know it's a 20-something-year-old musical, whatever. But then someone sees someone, and then someone else shows up, and then things escalate, and then things escalate further, and then this is all done within like 5 minutes, and then there's a huge plot point revealed, and it like, oh my god. And then that just keeps happening throughout the whole movie. Just little segment, rush through, a little bit tied together, kind of sometimes. And then another segment that they just rush through. Like, I was watching this like, like, oh my god. Like, it was really kind of jarring. And I didn't really even mention that the movie also kind of starts off a little bit slow. Like, for the first 30 minutes, I was like, okay, like, maybe let's kind of get going. Like, I'm not really into it. And then it looked like I was gonna be, but it never really clicked for me. There's plot points here that should be more important, and I just don't think they were very important until the end when they bring them back and then kind of wrap everything up and it's all done nicely. Like, just everything just felt rushed. It felt like they were exhausted from killing it with the first. And then they were just like, well, here's the list of what we got to do in the second. Let's just get through this. I'm tired. I want to go home. That's literally how it felt like. I also didn't really think there were any standout musical numbers like there were in the first. There's a couple in here that are pretty good, but I'd say almost all of them are kind of just, you know, like, I mean, it's different types of songs, though. I'll admit that. They are slower. They don't require so much freaking showmanship or whatever. Although, like I said, there are a couple big music numbers, and those were very well done, but the rest were kind of just, you know, like, they weren't really grabbing me and making me like, wow. And like, yeah, so I think on average, most of the musical numbers were kind of weaker. I also think there was a lot of flip-flopping of characters and motivations and what they wanted and what they were deciding to do. Like, there were multiple times where someone was, their mind was set on one thing, and then they flipped, and then they flipped again. And then just a lot of things like that throughout the movie. And like I said, I don't know if these are issues that people have with the second act of the musical, but a lot of this stuff, like I said, it was just jarring to me. It was like, like, it was just a lot. And it was so rushed, but also still very long. I don't know. Overall, a lot of it is very well made. There's a lot of great lead performances. There's a couple good music numbers with other ones that are fine. There's a lot of stuff in here that's fine. But then so much of it just feels so rushed and just so all over the place and quite a bit messy. So overall, it was just, it was okay, I guess. Like, it was fine. Like, I have no desire to want to go see this one again. Unlike how I did with the first. The first one was so great, and how can you not compare it to that? I mean, yeah, compared to the first, it's just clearly so much weaker. This kind of reminds me of It, like Pennywise, Stephen King, It. The first part of the story with the children, been adapted twice, great. But then they can't seem to quite figure out the adult side of it. That's kind of how this feels to me from what I've heard and from now seeing this. The second act of Wicked is like the second act of It. So, I don't know. They just, people can't figure it out, I guess. I don't know. And just like this film, this review is quite a bit messy. I do apologize for that. But yeah, this was my review and my thoughts. So let me know your thoughts on Wicked for Good. And please subscribe. I talk about movies, video games, TV, and more. Or go watch some of my other videos and shorts. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.